Senior Counsel CC Heil is joining us in studio right now because I do want to take a few minutes, and it's important to sometimes put aside what's going on in the world in terms of politics or news and really talk about the work of the ACLJ, the work of our legal team, and what they're doing on an individual level. And sometimes, again, these have gigantic impact. The small wins have gigantic impact throughout the country. And Will, I wanted you to kind of start this off with CC because when you hear these cases, I want people to know when they're giving and supporting the Life and Liberty Drive or whenever they're supporting, but right now during the Life and Liberty Drive, not only are they supporting the big cases, not only supporting the big issues or this broadcast, which, you know, a multi-million-dollar broadcast we have to do each and every day. They are supporting the legal help that's going on around the country at no cost to the individual client. It's a lot of times fighting for them on what feels like a small religious freedom victory, but we know that all of those small victories in small cases have just gigantic impact.
That's right. So we talk about many times issues that seem like they should have gone away with Supreme Court victories we had in the 80s and 90s, right? Sure. But what you'll see is that many places around the country still practice very actively viewpoint discrimination against people of faith, against Christians many times. And this case specifically is in a place you wouldn't assume to be seeing this type of behavior. This is in a town called Hertford, North Carolina. And there was a church seeking to find a new building, a new place to hold its weekly gatherings, its weekly worship services. And wherever they would go, they kept finding problems with zoning, where they would find a property they could use, they'd start to get in the process, and then they found out that the city itself had specific zones that were no church zones. You could have a library, you could have a museum.
That's crazy.
You couldn't have a church. Obviously, unconstitutional, viewpoint discrimination. But Cece, walk us through this a little bit and how we got involved, and then we'll get into some of the action after that.
Sure. So like you said, in North Carolina, there's a church looking to hold services, and they run into zoning laws that literally, again, as you say, are no church zones, that they're literally banned from the commercial zones. So you have a C1 and C2 zoned commercial zones, like you said, that allow all types of uses, but not churches. And then even in the zones where a church is allowed, they were only allowed if they were pre-approved by the zoning board. So really there is no just a full-out right permit for a church to exist anywhere in this area, according to their zoning laws. So the church reaches out to us, which is great, and we're able to get involved. And in this situation, be able to talk to the city attorney and talk to them about the issues that we have with these zoning laws. So we were able to, and this is a great win. It was a 3-step process. As you can imagine, you have to get the city council. There has to be votes and amendments happening. And just Monday night, the city council did vote to amend their zoning laws. And really, it's a great win because now they've revised their table of uses, which is the table that, you know, each zone, what that can be used for. And now churches are allowed a permitted use in every single zoning district. So not just the C1, C2 commercial, but every single zoning use, a church is now being permitted to operate without any prior approval, just as a matter of right. And that's a huge win, not only for our church, but every church in that area.
I want to make sure people understand that not only is it a big win for this individual church, but the impact on this, whether you could say citywide, statewide, countywide, and then setting some precedents to then take this, you could take this to other states and say, okay, we know we've won in this situation. We can now bring at least some of the legal rhetoric to there.
Right. And another thing that is very good is this was something that we were able to resolve pretty quickly. We didn't have to file a lawsuit. We were able to work with the city attorney. We were able, and then he's working with the city council to say, hey, this is wrong. We need to fix it. So a lot of times that's all it takes is bringing it to someone's attention and making sure that they get it fixed. Now, we are always ready to take it to court, and we will do that if we have to, all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States if we have to. But there are so many situations where we don't have to do that. So I just encourage people, if you have situations like this, that you always reach out to the ACLJ. If you go to aclj.org/help, you can fill out a short little form. Our attorneys review it and get back to you very quickly. And we are able to jump into these situations and help. And like here in North Carolina, we literally had Monday night a city council vote to change their zoning laws and now allow churches as permitted uses in every single one of their zoning.
Two things I want to highlight really quickly for everyone. As we talk about that, you mentioned the commercial districts, C1 or C2. Many times why these cities put restrictions on certain entities within a commercial district is because of tax revenue. They want businesses there because they want tax revenue as well as just economic revenue for their city. So sometimes it's not a strictly, we don't want Christians here, but they don't want nonprofits. They don't want people that aren't generating revenue. But why this one was so egregious is that the zoning ordinances allowed libraries, museums, theaters, art galleries, and restaurants within the same area. So many of those would operate functionally as nonprofits. It wasn't necessarily just an issue of the tax revenue or the city revenue, but it also goes that with these cities, you can't stop at them saying, okay, they can do it. Because many times they have an ordinance on the books. They have a law, whether it be an unconstitutional one. And so we have to make sure they follow through and change that and overturn it. And that's exactly what we did here.
That's exactly what we did here. And we made sure that the city council changed it. And there is literally a federal law that says that a government can't treat a religious assembly or institution differently than non-religious institutes. And that doesn't matter whether they're commercial or nonprofit. You cannot treat religious institutes differently. It has to be on equal terms. We had a win here. It's a huge victory. It's a huge victory for every church in Hartford, North Carolina. And I'm very proud of our legal team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always great to focus on the wins so you can know what your money goes to when you support the work of the ACLJ. But right now, we are in the middle of that Life and Liberty Drive. You heard about the incredible work we're doing. You hear about the support that we have for local, independent, small churches, or for the big churches. Sometimes they need, some of the big congregations, some of the big denominations, they need support too. They don't know what to do. They're not there with the legal means to make this happen. We are there whenever we are called upon. If it fits within our scope, we are there. And if you need us, we are there. Right now, I'm going to encourage you, obviously, to support the work. Make a donation. Become an ACLJ champion. That's a monthly recurring donor. But I'm also going to ask you, if you're brand new to the broadcast, you're watching on a YouTube or a Rumble, follow, subscribe, do that. That means a lot as well, because that helps get more people to see this kind of content. So while we are in the middle of Life and Liberty Drive, and it is important to raise funds, and that's why we're here, do that if you're brand new. If you've been enjoying this show for a long time, if you've been part of the family here at the ACLJ, if you've been one of those who enjoys this broadcast each and every day or the legal work that we do, I'm going to encourage you to make that donation right now because we can't do it without you. Your donations are doubled during this Life and Liberty Drive. You just heard about that. Fighting against no church zones, those kind of things. It almost feels comical that is where we are as a country. But unfortunately, it's where we're at